Hey there all, Omen here from Transition Partners, here for another episode of Leadership Lessons in Cyber. Hey Michael, how are you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I am very good. Thanks for obviously taking some time to speak to me today on the podcast around Let's Talk about cybersecurity. Now, for the viewers, now I know we've got some mutual connections, but for anyone listening, which is mainly CISOs and CIOs, tell us a bit about yourself and how you broke into the cyber industry.
Well, I went to college right out of high school, expecting to go to law school. I was, watching all those 80s law TV shows and thought, this is great. I'm going to be a lawyer. After my undergraduate, I said, I am so done with college. I'm going to join the military and see the world, expecting to do 4 years in the military and come back, as a grown-up adult and hit law school. While in the military, I discovered IT. They kind of put me into that arena. I did a little work in that area, and 20 years later, I'm retiring out of the military as a cybersecurity professional, having helped develop some of the Department of Defense's biggest cybersecurity, systems and such. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the main premise of your business now, and we'll go into that. But I want to go back and sort of at the start. So you were thrown in, you wanted to be a lawyer, but then you ended up in IT, which is so different, right? What were the challenges there for you, like from a very corporate environment to IT?
Yeah. So when I first got out of the college to join the military, I'd taken some IT classes, some programming classes when I was in college and undergrad. So Fortran, you know what I mean? I was a Fortran programmer, and I thought, that's the language that'll be forever. Little did we know. And so when I joined the military, I kind of leaned into the IT, not knowing that I wasn't a lawyer yet. I figured IT would be a great job. It kind of interested me. And so, yeah, the growth there was just, it was starting out. It was fresh. It was new. There weren't a lot of people doing it in the early 90s. Desktops were just starting out on people's, systems. And so I got to grow into, as cyber and as IT grew within the Department of Defense, I was kind of just lucky enough to be at the right place at the right time to grow with it.
I love it. So you ended up in that field. It's obviously taking you to many different places, but now your own business. So I wanted to touch on that. I know this, but for everyone who's listening, what's your business? Who's your audience, and what's your USP?
Yeah, so the company's name is Digital Beachhead. And I started that. That was a term I coined while I was in the military. I said I secured the digital beachhead for the Department of Defense. They said I was crazy. And then, eventually I kind of convinced them that that is in fact what we were doing. And so they put it onto a Wing Awards package that made it up to the Pentagon. And 2 years after I put it on my package, it said, the Undersecretary of Defense used it in a speech saying that the enemy had secured a digital beachhead in one of our networks. So that's when I knew I had a name. And then upon retiring and not knowing what I wanted to do growing up, starting Digital Beachhead, we kind of focused on federal contracts at first, what I knew. And we've slowly morphed into small to mid-sized businesses, helping those companies that are working with the Department of Defense, among others, but that's kind of a big focus because I understand the rule sets.
And you've gone into a specific niche, obviously based on your career, but then also your understanding. But is there a passion there for that specific industry that really resonates with you?
It is. I think small to mid-size have always been underrepresented in the cybersecurity market. People go for the big money, and the big companies, and they typically were the ones that were mainly the focus of attacks. We thought the cyber criminals were only going to go for big companies, but now they've kind of, it's like in any business. Once you've kind of pilfered the big boys, you have to move down. And so that's what they're doing. And small to mid-sized businesses are greatly under attack now, also as a stepping stool into the larger businesses.
Absolutely. And one of the things about owning your own business, leadership, right? That's the center of this podcast. So you've gone now to a company, I think, of 6 people, is that right?
Yes.
What, going from maybe a technician, IT person to now a leader of a company, that leadership style must have evolved. But at the start, what have been the challenges of leading a team, especially your own team as well in your own company?
Well, that's where I think being from the military was fortunate, having led teams in the military under a lot more difficult situations. But I tend to lead my company teams the same. I expect greatness, and I don't do that as in I'm a hard man to work with, and you better perform. It's I know you have it, kind of. I know you are the great person
Yeah.
that has all the skill sets. So that expectation of greatness comes from my expectation of knowing who you are and then leading from the front. I'll do the work right alongside anyone else because, I'm not going to ask you to do something I won't do.
And has that changed over time then, that style?
Uh, It has, just in that I had to be, when I first started, there was some of that more hard-nosed militariness that needed to be softened. Um, with non-military, these people haven't signed their lives on the dotted line to their
Yeah.
government. They're just working for me and they can leave tomorrow. So it's finding that balance between, that expectation of greatness and understanding failure and how failure can lead us into better directions.
And you said something there really interesting that can lead you tomorrow. So what do you, not to prevent it because that's the real one word, but what do you do to inspire people to want to stay with you?
I think it all comes from having a work environment where people are excited and happy to come to work. So as long as they know they have challenges ahead of them, that they have the ability to make decisions on their own, that they can do these things, um, and that they can not micromanaged. I know I always hated to be micromanaged. So to know that you
Same.
have the freedom to do your job, right? This is what you need to do. I don't say you have to be here from this time to this time. You know what's expected of you. You know when the clients are needing to talk to you. But if you prefer to work between 10 and midnight, because that's when you get most of your creative juices flowing, do it. That's your time. Just get me the product at the end of the day.
Yeah. And you kind of, it seems like you run it like they own a business within a business. They own their own product line. Now, all your team are remote and everyone talks about the remote world now. And you've probably been doing that for a while, but what have been the challenges for you? It'd be good for people to hear how you've set it up and how it's successful.
I would say the remote work, the one thing that we and everyone needs to remember is that their home then becomes part of your corporate network. So everyone's Nest, Google Home, television, video camera, the children playing in the basement on their games, that's all part of your corporate network now. So you kind of have to find ways to make sure your corporate stuff is segmented and secure apart from everybody else. And then knowing that because people are home, their hours aren't going to be that steady. They might have to break off at 2 to 3 to go do something with the family. But again, we have the results driven, not hours driven kind of workforce.
Awesome. And you're in a position now, leader of a company. You probably research the industry a lot. When we look at probably the, I don't know, next 10 years or so, what do you see as the biggest challenges slash trends around cyber?
Uh, I say I see the small to mid-size are definitely going to have to pick up more. They're going to have to incorporate more cyber. I think a lot of people believed that we're too small. No one cares, but no one's really too small. And that the ransomware and the phishing attacks are going to get so sophisticated that they're going to even fool the IT people. So that, and then the biggest scare uh, is quantum computing.
Okay. Okay. I'm not too familiar on that world, so I'll let you explain why.
Quantum computing is just a new way of computing, of doing computing that is, it's almost like when we went from the 46 chip to the Pentium, if you remember the improvements in our processors. Well, this is a processor improvement of the umpteenth level. So all your encryption keys, encryption basically means that your data is garbled in such a way that it would take years to find the key to unlock your data. With quantum computing, they can do it in a matter of seconds.
Right. Okay. And last but two questions, actually. The last one's a bit more of a sort of follow-up, but the business that you're in now, you're obviously focusing on small to medium in mainly the federal space. What's the future for the business now for you?
We are just going to continue to grow as small to mid-size, need more help and realize they need more help. We've opened office in London, Ontario. In Canada, we just opened an office in Las Vegas. So it's kind of getting us out to where the people need us. Even though we're remote and we can work remotely, it's always good to have a face somewhere nearby. I'm still a person that believes in pumping the flesh and shaking the hands and meeting and going to the business meetings in a city or town. So for us, it's going to be that. It's going to be that continued kind of slow growth too. I'm a firm believer in crawl, walk, run. I'm not going to get ahead of my skis and take on more clients than we can handle.
Awesome. And my small to medium size business network, where can they find you if they need some help?
Oh, we are on the web, as are, I think, everybody nowadays. That used to be a new thing, but now everybody's on the web. But we are at www.digitalbeachhead.com. And I'm on LinkedIn, and there's also a LinkedIn page for Digital Beachhead.
Awesome. Thanks very much for your time.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Leadership Lessons in Cyber. I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode.